So this is your position. 300,000. 2005. Okay, so the position is around how much? Just above, no, or you may say, yeah, just above 400,000 in 2005, right? Or for 430,000, you could say around 430,000 in 2005. So positions at the initial and the final point. So that's what point number 1 means. Number 2, increment and decrement. Decrement, increment. Number 3, no change or constant period. No change and constant period. We don't have that in that question. Just a moment. Let's talk about this point number 1 first. So point number 1, position at the initial or the final point. As I said you earlier, the year 2000 is the initial point, and it is positioned at $30 million. This one. The year 2005 is the final point, and it is positioned at around $43 million. This. Now, okay. Point number 2, increment and decrement. So it can be seen that there was a decrement from 2000 to 2001, 2000 to 2001. There was decrement, while there was an increment from 2002 to 2005. From 2002 to 2005, increment. So point number 3, no change or a constant period. No change. So check this out, this diagram. So in this line graph, it can be seen that the number of arrests for using illegal drugs from 2003 to 2005 was constant at 20. 2003 to 2005. You can see there was no change. No change. Constant. So we need to consider a pattern like this. Point number 4, maximum and minimum. Here you can see maximum This is your maximum, and this is your minimum. Maximum, minimum value. And point number 5, similarities. In this line graph, in which line graph? In this line graph, it can be seen that the value of fuel and manufactured goods was the same at around $21 million in 2004. 2004, and you can see here, you can check this in, all right, this point. So this is similarity, cross section, you may say. So these are the these are the 5 major points that we need to consider while writing a report. So just a moment. So now, my beautiful friends, well, we did understand about point number 1. There wasn't much. Positions at the initial and the final point, nothing much to explain about this. But we need to talk about this point number 2, increment and decrement in detail. Let's check it out. So to talk about increment and decrement, we need to know degree of change and speed of change. Okay, so degree of change and speed of change. And to understand this, and to understand this, we need to learn different nouns and verbs that describe change. Check this out. You may take the screenshot. Verbs to describe increment. Rose, 2. Increased, 2. Went up, 2. Climbed, 2. Boomed. Now their noun forms are arise and increase, growth, an upward trend, a boom, a dramatic rise, rose, arise, rose. For example, the price of the oil rose from $10 to $15. A rise. There was a rise in the price of gas from $5 to $10. In the same way, we may use other verbs in nouns. You may take the screenshot of this. Okay, now let's talk about verbs to describe decrement. Fell to, declined to, decreased to, dipped to, dropped to, went down to, slumped to, reduced to. And their noun. Yes, not their noun, nouns. They're a little different here. The nouns to talk about decrement are a decrease, a decline, a fall, a drop, a slump, a dramatic fall, that is, a reduction. For example, the price of oil fell from $10 to $5. Or if we need to use noun, if we want to use noun, there was a decrease in the price of oil from $10 to $5. You may use the verbs and nouns in the same way. Now, verbs to describe no change or a constant period. Do you remember this? Number 3, no change or a constant period. This one. In this line graph, it can be seen that the number of arrests for using illegal drugs from 2003 to 2005 was constant at 20. How do we talk about trend like this, talk about situation like this in different ways? These are the different ways to describe no change. Verbs to describe no change or constant period. Labeled out at, did not change, remained stable at, remained steady at. Stayed constant at, maintained the same level. You may take the screenshot of this. Okay, now let's talk about degree of change. You may take the screenshot of this. Dramatic, dramatically, sharp, sharply, enormous, enormously, steep, steeply, substantial, substantially, considerable, considerably, significant, significantly, moderate, moderately, slight, slightly, minimal, minimally. You may take the screenshot of This speed of change, rapid, rapidly, quick, quickly, swift, swiftly, sudden, suddenly, steady, steadily, gradual, gradually, slow, slowly. So, how do we use this? Of course, we're going to talk about this in detail, but going to I'm going to give you guys some example. For example, the price of the oil dramatically increased. The price of the gas sharply declined, right? There was a dramatic increment in the price. There was a moderate decline in the price. Rapid. There was a rapid increment in the number of students. The number of students rapidly increased. The number of consumers gradually decreased. There was a gradual increment in the number of consumers. So this is how we use degree of change. This is how we use degree of change and the speed of change. Now let's talk about how to describe approximation. All right, approximation. What do we mean by approximation? Let's take this example, this diagram. Approximation. You can see approximation. This is useful when